what can we do that's a little bit different? We've got nice framing of the oak, half a bag to a pallet, full pallet of bricks. So that's 120, roughly speaking, 60 plus 15. The total price of that is the one figure I don't have. Hey folks, welcome back. It's the Big Barn Build. Today, we're carrying on with our brickwork, making the most of the dry weather. Also, need some help on a couple of things, so stick around. Let's jump in. So time for a bit of an update. I can't remember where we left off recently. You'll see I've gone for tough love on the lawn. Kind of stripped off a load of bits and put another 5 dumper loads of topsoil on here, reseeded the whole thing, just brought it up so it's going to be the right height. I just thought it's better to do it now, get hopefully some growth on this ahead of winter, and then by next year we'll be even better. Right, so brickwork, how are we doing? So this is pretty much there. You can see that top band is just drying a little bit slower. The weather is on our side at the moment, so things are just drying really slowly, which is what we want. There's going to be a bit of tidying up to do on the faces of the brick, but not too much. And then come around the corner, we took it all the way up to the oak, and then you'll see we skipped 2 panels, and that is because we want to do something a little bit different there. So later on in the video I'll talk about that. So we jumped ahead to the other side and hopefully going to get some of this up this week. What we decided to do now is use a bit of 9mm OSB in against the oak, butt up the bricks to that, then remove it, and we end up with a really nice line there. It almost looks nice as a shadow gap, which we could put some sort of compact foam in, but I think that's where we're going to leave it and then repoint that in the future once the oak's done a bit of moving. So this is all going to be brushed up probably later today or tomorrow. We've run through underneath the door. We had a profile to the right of the door. That's gone now. It's here, and we're working around the corner. Joe's just nipped out to grab some more ties. We're up to this sort of height, and then we've had to rack it down because we're on quite a long run here. So we have decided on an expansion join, probably 2. So I think it's a 12-meter limit, and 1 in the middle would be okay. But there's a point where we put that profile, or that bit of timber profile, which is going to be hidden behind where some air source heat pump stuff is, and you know it's quite a good spot there to conceal it. But what we're probably going to do is put another one just where the blue membrane starts, so it just means that the string line won't have a sag in it, and just it's more manageable. So we should be able to get this up tight around here and then start as a new section down there. So what we do need to do is work out if we are going to need to order some more bricks. I think I should be able to estimate, bearing in mind we do get quite a bit of wastage. We can use a lot of these for half bricks, but this long run here, apart from where we've got the stopping and starting of the expansion joints, it's all going to be full bricks pretty much. So therefore we do need all the good ones from a pallet. We've got 4 pallets after this one. So I'm just going to do a bit of maths. I think there's 480 bricks in a pack, 60-ish to a square metre, but that is 8 square metres. I'm afraid once again you've missed a bunch of stuff because, well, it was just more of the same, but I'm going to give you an update now, and then I really need your help on deciding what we do next. So that was yesterday. I've gone over it with a brush and it's just not quite there yet. I was secretly hoping Dad was going to be here tomorrow, but he's away because Dad just kind of seems to have his little special ways with getting that finished with the churn brush and the glove and everything. But I'll have to do that tomorrow. I'm going to cover it in Hessian tonight. Although it's not wet, it's not too windy, I still feel it's going to dry out quite quickly. this side is what we did today. Well, I say just this side. Actually, we go down the other side. I'll show you how much we've done down there. But this is now at height, although there's no window. It's obviously the same height as the cladding. It's going to run all the way down. So that's all good. This is still nice and wet, so I've got a couple of days before I need to touch that. And then running down the side, we'd now be able to take off that right-hand profile. It just means I can then tool up and make sure those mortared beds are nice and clean. But this one needs to stay on for now. But we've come up 6 or 7 courses from DPC and racked up to height here. So we're actually, well, I'd like to think I can do that before Tom gets back. We'll see. It's more bricks than it looks, and I'm slower than I look. But I don't know what that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're 40 bricks along here, so there's a fair few bricks for little old me to get in. I'm actually against the clock a bit because I need to disappear. Some very kind viewer, Will, thank you Will, has offered me a double glazed front door, an old front door of his, so I'm going to go and pick that up now because he's only half an hour away. But it's been good. This is we thought we wouldn't actually see much of this down here, so all of our less than average bricks we were saving and going to use up down here. And yes, you see less of it, but actually the main entrance to the barn is up here as you drive down. So you do see that corner quite well for now, until there's some hedging up here. But I'm off to pick up the door. I'll come back tomorrow, I'll fit it, we'll brush that up, and I'll give you an update on a few other things.
Oh my.
Well, that'll do us. I'm not going to be too fussy. I'm just going to put a little bit of plywood in at the top. Of course, we're not going to have the same thermal performance here as the rest of the building. However, I still think that by the time that's sealed off, we should be able to warm the place up a bit over winter. So, but that's all right. And it locks. Right, I did come out last night in the dark and hessian everything up. It wasn't going to be frosty, but I just thought, didn't want this top course drying too quickly. This is ready for brushing today. I did start down there, but it was a bit early. Even if I just get 2 or 3 courses in there, I'll be a happy boy. All right, dressing gown DIY underway.
Means I can strip it off and just go on the school run with my clothes underneath.
Layers. That's good. So is it too soft above that point, you reckon?
Well, you said not to, and I think if I was watching you guys correctly, you did this bit next.
Yeah.
And then, so I'll work up after. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. So right from the beginning, we wanted to use either a reclaimed or reclaimed looking brick. And that was just so it kept more in keeping with adjacent buildings. Yes, it might have suited a really modern finish, but that's just kind of the look we wanted. So going from that approach, we decided that we wanted something a little bit more standardized. Well, I say standardized because these are really not, but these bricks are a little bit more weather resistant than perhaps some reclaimed 100, 200-year-old bricks that you don't necessarily know how long they're going to last you. So we ended up going with these. They're from a company called Imperial Bricks, and the range is Colmere. Now there's different, well, we looked at a few. These are pretty extreme in as much as, well, you've seen in previous videos, but the range of bricks, I've just picked up a real cracker. It's really quite regular. So, you know, that is quite a nice square brick with no damage on it and nice straight edges. This would be a dream to lay, especially if this was regular between all the bricks. In reality, most of these are tumbled and knocked around to give the weathered look. You really have to pick through them. Some of them are so kind of weathered that you can't really use them as full bricks. Most of these are okay, but you know, it's all about finding a good face, and that slows us down because it's almost like building with stonework. You're constantly trying to find the right brick for the job. It also doesn't help that the length of the brick slightly varies up to 10 mil, which means it's kind of nice sometimes because you can grab a brick that's slightly shorter to suit a job and get you back on track if you're creeping off a bit. However, it makes the job harder because you're trying to keep on track and you don't want the perps and things to drift off and you want the bond to stay regular. But it's all part of the charm, and although it might not be metric precise, it's still giving the overall look that we want, and we're just focusing on keeping those perps nice and straight. But as far as cost goes, the bricks worked out, I'll put it on screen, the exact cost, but for sums, for maths sake, £1 a brick is not the cheapest way to build with bricks, but it's probably in line with what you'd pay for reclaimed bricks, I would guess. Approximately 60 metric bricks to a square metre, so we are using slightly less than that, but I'm still treating it as 60 for the purposes of the rejects and ones you can't, or ones that are cut and wastage. So 60 bricks is kind of what we're using. I'm not 100% sure on exactly the square meterage yet because windows and things like that, I'd have to look back at our spreadsheet, but based on the number of bricks we needed, we got 12 pallets, 480 on a pallet. The total price of that is the one figure I don't have. I'll put it on the screen now. Well, I could probably work it out in my head, but I'm not going to. So I will work out the exact square meterage, and then from that we can work out brick costs per square metre. Well, 60 quid a square metre, isn't it, Tim? 60 quid a square metre, God. Thursday maths. We ordered 7 bags of, was it 7? 7 bags of mortar. I do have that price. £240 a bag, and I guess, roughly speaking, that was enough for 7,000 bricks. We've got slightly more than we need, I imagine. So it's, roughly speaking, we're talking about one bulk bag will do 2 pallets of bricks. £120 of mortar does you a full pallet of bricks. So that's £120 will do you 8 square metres, £15 a square metre. Correct me in the comments. So £15 a square metre worth of mortar and £60 a square metre of brick, plus ties and drain jobbies. So therefore it's 75-ish pounds per square metre is what we're paying for our materials. Now we're paying more for our mortar because it's a lime putty mortar and it's made off site and blah blah blah. However, there is no time needed for mixing up. I think we've got to be saving a load of time on that. We're not throwing away much mix because you can keep it and use it the next day. So there's got to be a plus point to all that. Now the next question is, how much would it have cost to pay someone to do this? Albeit they might have done it better and quicker. But how much would it really cost? Or how much are we potentially saving? And the answer to that is a little bit vague because we never had a quote based on us using lime mortar. So I dare say it would have cost a lot more if we were paying someone to come and do it, especially if they were going to be having to do all the finishing and the tending and the brushing and jointing and everything afterwards. But based on us using a regular cement mortar, it was, the quotes were about £8,500 to £10,000 with 2 quotes. One person came out, one person just did it off facts and figures, which I thought was quite a lot of money, but you know, maybe that's the going rate. So it was over £1 per brick, and these bricks are going to be a lot more of a pain in the backside. So I imagine they would have probably charged us more had they known we were using these bricks, because they're a pain in the backside. But maybe they wouldn't have actually wanted the job if they knew we were going to be using lime mortar and not just their regular mix, that they can throw in a lot kind of quicker and looser mortar. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to hear what other people think. All that said, it would have pretty much doubled the price of everything by paying someone to do it, because we would have been paying, yeah, same again, £1 a brick for someone to come and lay it, if not more. And while that would have meant that we could get on with other stuff, it would have meant that we can't really be starting the cladding yet, because all the cladding is above the brick, and we can't do all that until the brick is finished. So I'm blaming Tom, because Tom was the one saying, oh, I'm pretty sure we could do it ourselves. And he was right, because we're gradually working our way around, and yes, we don't really want to be sharing our techniques and details too closely. But I think it was a good decision to do, and it's definitely given me the confidence to do other bits around the place. You know, if we need a little wall over there for a garden retaining wall or something or other, I know that whatever I do is going to match the house and be good enough. Another one of the unique things about it all is it's obviously the lime mortar using a lime putty, and it wasn't necessary to use these bricks. Would have probably survived the cement mortar, and some of them are soft. There's obviously a mix in here, but I'm pretty sure that it's always going to be kinder to the brick to use a lime putty mortar, something that's soft and nice. And there's just something about the look to it which you just can't really recreate with cement, even if you get the colour right. The aggregate's slightly different, the way it is textured, and obviously it's going to be a super breathable finish, so that means that moisture is no longer able to be trapped in that wall, and if there's any moisture or water vapour that gets through anyhow, it can always escape in a very, very easy route out. So I just think it's really nice to use, and we doubted it to start with, in that we thought it was going to cost more and be harder to work with, but it's actually the opposite. I think lime putty mortar takes the kind of thinking out of it, in that mixing up and gauging everything is just irrelevant. You no longer have to concern yourself about that, because you know it's going to match. It's all exactly the same aggregate mixed off site. Obviously we're mixing up before we use it, but only to just literally liven it up a bit, and therefore that speeds things up. But really it's down to the way it goes down. Like we had a very small amount of water just to make it a little bit more workable, because if you're repointing with it, then you want it quite stiff. But when you're laying bricks with it, you do want it to squish out a bit and be a little bit easier to bed down. So a very small amount of water, and it takes an incredibly small amount of water, like a cup of water to a mixer, to just loosen it all up again. I would say, it's funny, lime, it's like a dark art. Everyone seems to think it's really hard. You've got to do this, that and the other, and mix it this way and tend it for days on end. And yes, there is a certain element to that, but I think it's more DIY friendly than cement, because you've got so much time to work with it. You could do a little bit in the evening after work in your barrow, put it back in a bucket, use exactly the same mix the next day. There's no like big ceremonial mix, setup of getting the mixer out, getting your buckets to sand out, getting it all right. There's none of that. It's really, really simple. And if you're doing small amounts of repointing on a house, which is what our old house is all about, is repointing and doing all that stuff, you could you could just have a bucket. All you need is an STS drill with a paddle mixer on it. And you can just do a little bit now and then. It's so easy to just pick up and drop. You just got to keep on top of it. You know, weather is going to be one thing that sets it apart. But even if you're using a cement mortar in the middle of summer, you're going to have problems. So I don't think that's too much to be concerned with. And also the jointing and brushing out, as long as you get that hessian on it to protect it from either the heat, the wind, the rain, whatever it is, the frost, so it's protected, you've got yourself a bit of grace big time, because you can come back and do it when you've got a bit more time the next day or a couple of days later. So again, it just gives you way more flexibility and time. It's a long old run, this. Right, excuse the yapping dogs and the playpen and buggy, but either side of the front door we've got our windows, and they're going to have brick below. Now, we were just going to carry this brick all the way through to sill height, and then the cladding will sit above. However, what can we do that's a little bit different? We've got nice framing of the oak. These are, I guess, about 2.5 meters between the posts. We've got a black trim panel of aluminium to go in there, so that will kind of disappear. But anyway, love to hear what you would do with this area. Not really looking to do anything too extravagant. We thought about like a herringbone panel, just, you know, the center part, but gone off that idea now. So I mean, we're thinking perhaps just build a rectangular panel under this window that's just bumped back 20 mil. Just something, it just adds a little bit of something. Remember, the idea at some point is to build big barn doors here that will slide, or have the options. We'll have some nice steel runners over the top. So the doors will actually live over that middle section there, and they'll roll over here, but 90% of the time they'll be sat over there. So we just thought either side of the front door, put something here, and we'd be doing exactly the same over here. Anyway, that's our little unknown at the moment. And we may wait until right at the end, save a pallet of the bricks up here so we know they're all going to be the same batch. Because I am going to have to order some more. We've come up short, or we are going to come up short. But it might just add a little bit of fa-ba-boom to the front.